In the community of primates, they are considered loners, drifters that once haunted primeval forests throughout Asia. Today, these mysterious apes survive only on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra. They are called orangutans, people of the forest. This is the story of two forest-dwelling families, Tati and his mother Inda, and Puji and her daughter Dian. To enter their world is to witness a lifestyle unique among primates and a society more intriguing than ever before imagined. This is a rare look into the very private world of Asia's red ape. The volcanic mountains of Sumatra's Leuser National Park offer sanctuary from a growing human population. The lush greenery is deceptive. For months, or even years on end, fruit trees are barren, so only a few specially adapted animals can survive here. Foraging is tougher now than ever. Leuser is gripped by the worst drought on record. The river is barely a memory. The forest floor is as dry as kindling. And only the cicadas seem to be thriving. To survive here requires intelligence and ingenuity. Orangutans possess both. Still, we know little about them compared to our other cousins, the chimpanzees and the gorillas. High in the forest canopy, they are safe from prying eyes. And not just the human variety. An old adversary reigns below. There are tigers in these forests. This is Inda. She's 25 years old and in her prime. Her son Tati instinctively grasps his mother's hair to prevent a fall. In the weeks after birth, human infants have the same reflex, a legacy from when our ancestors lived in trees. Orangs even have roughly the same amount of hair that humans do, although theirs is longer and thicker. Young orangs are dependent on their mothers longer than any other great ape. Tati is 3 years old and will rely on Inda for food and care for up to 5 more years. He's got a lot to learn before he can set off on his own. Every day, an orang will build its own nest to sleep in. It's a skill that Tati will master when he's not too busy exploring. What he learns now will be key to his survival later. Orangs are largely solitary animals, and their only schooling comes from their mothers. Inda prefers him by her side, but her rambunctious youngster never sits still. But she's distracted by the presence of a newcomer. Aswar is the top male in the area and probably Tati's father. Inda has had a relationship with him for years. Aswar's impressive cheek flanges are a sign of his dominance over the local males. With a large area to roam, he rarely stays put for long. Given the shortage of food and receptive females here, Aswar will probably steal away to try his luck elsewhere. It may be months before he returns. To young adult males like 18-year-old Doba, Aswar's departure is good news. With stronger competition out of the way, he might have a chance to mate. For now, male sexual politics are of little interest to Tati. He's got enough on his hands learning how to build a nest. Tati's curiosity is limitless. And the forest? An ideal place to explore. Tati needs guidance on what to eat. The mainstay of the orangutan's diet is fruit. But learning which are edible is only a first step. Luckily, he's with an expert. His mother, Inda, can remember exact locations of hundreds of fruit trees and accurately predict when their fruit will ripen. And then there's the is only a first step. Luckily, he's with an expert. His mother, Inda, can... The privilege also extends to her son. Neither will go hungry. Others are not so lucky. Slightly younger than Inda, Pooji is at the bottom of the orangutan social ladder. She'll have less access to the choice fruits here. Her daughter Deanne cleans the ants from her fur, a meager snack compared to fruit, but perhaps enough to tide her over for now. Tian is older and more self-sufficient than Tati, but she still has a few table manners to learn. During lean times, there's not enough food to share, so orangs must spread out through the forest. The availability of food dictates their social life, and is why the apes must spend so much time alone. Foraging for insects is trickier than it might seem. This ant's nest is protected only by a thin wall of mud. But ants deliver a painful bite. A swarm of stinging bees is far worse. Honey is the most prized orang food, but there's a knack to collecting it. Choosing the wrong nest to raid can be a disastrous experience. It seems Puji's technique could use more work. Perhaps she missed out on proper training early in life. Without the example of a skilled mother, her daughter Diane is unlikely to become more adept at honey hunting. The forest heaves a sigh of relief as a fig tree begins to fruit. Hungry animals flock from miles around. The fig is one of the few trees that bears fruit during barren times, and with nothing else available, it's an oasis in a desert of green. Fruit bats are the first to arrive. Then a hornbill. Word travels fast. Soon the orangutans arrive to claim their share. Yesterday, only a couple of orangs were in this area, but now there are a dozen in a single tree. Do they follow the creatures of the skies? No one really knows how news travels through the forest, but it does. With so much competition for food, tension mounts and disagreements are inevitable. Tiny but aggressive, macaques have little fear of larger primates. But orangs are gentle creatures that usually avoid trouble. Whatever quarrels they may have had with other animals, The rules of orangutan society are carefully observed. While Inda and the other high-ranking orangs feast above, Pooji waits her turn, feeding on ferns and roots in the fig tree's lower branches. To dine prematurely would mean risking a nasty bite. It's safer to defer and acknowledge Inda's superiority. Inda is finally full. At last, Pooji can make her move. Pooji and Dian have some catching up to do. Though families feed together, they keep their distance from one another to avoid conflicts over the precious fruit. Even orangs have their limits, and the combination of the midday heat and a belly full of figs soon means it's nap time for the adults. As the afternoon sun fades to dusk, the orangs resume their feasting. Poor quality figs are dropped, but they don't go to waste. Wild pigs scour the forest floor for orangutan leftovers. The animals stuff themselves. No one can be sure when or where they will find their next meal. As Dova squeezes in the final few figs of the day, Pooji and Dian prepare for the night ahead. Dian has almost mastered the art of nest building. As she settles down to sleep, others are stirring. These are binturongs, or bear cats. By coming out after dark, they have the tree to themselves. Binturongs survive mainly on figs. When there are none around, they're less active and conserve energy until food is available. Because so many of the animals in this forest are heavy, few of them can reach fruit on slender branches. So there are usually more figs here than anywhere else. The binturong takes advantage. It's one of the few Asian mammals with a tail that can grip. Hanging from the branches, it can pluck fruit from twigs that wouldn't support its weight. Now that the figs are finished, and with them their life-sustaining juices, Pooji seeks another source of moisture. Rainwater collects in tree holes, but remembering where they are requires a good memory. Dion is thirsty too, but these tree holes will soon be empty. And with water in short supply, signs of conflict between mother and daughter begin to show. Diane's irritation is obvious. Her mother's next tactic is more direct. It may be time to part ways. Diane is nearly 8 years old. It's time to be on her own. Few animals are dependent on their mothers for so long, but finding food is so hard for orangs that even an 8-year-old could starve without her mother's assistance. Pooji is getting restless. Doba senses that she soon may be ready to breed. And with the dominant male Aswar out of the area, he's eager to seize the opportunity. But Pooji is unlikely to conceive with Diane still at her breast. There's a palpable tension between mother and daughter. As Diane starts to suckle, Pooji bites her. She seems torn between her nurturing instinct and the drive to reproduce. The second urge will inevitably win out, and Diane will have to go. Two weeks later, Doba makes his move. The apes will again have scattered in search of food, and the chances of being disturbed by a big male are slim. Diane does everything she can to break up the pairing. Once Pooji gives birth, she'll be on her own. Females usually prefer a dominant male with a pedigree, but it's worth the chance. Today's sub-adult might one day be a force to contend with. Across the forest, little Tati thrives on his mother's attentions. It will be years before Inda and her son will part company. If he follows her lead, he'll be a successful orang. Their play also has a purpose: to develop Tati's strength and his coordination. The youngster will need all the help he can get to negotiate this forest. The trees here are spaced far apart, with relatively few vines joining them. For an orangutan, getting around can be difficult. Macaques are light enough to leap. Thomas langurs are even more agile. But orangs have a problem. They're as heavy as humans. It's a long way down to the forest floor, and a mistake here could be serious. The safest option is to vault. The heavier the orang, the more a tree will bend under its weight. Moving efficiently through the canopy requires problem-solving skills. And years of practice. Young orangs have an unenviable dilemma. They are too heavy to leap and too light to bend trees and vault. Enterprising solutions are not uncommon. Very young orangs rely on their mothers to carry them or make bridges. Even 8-year-old Dion still relies on Puji to cross difficult stretches. At this height, caution is essential, and infants learn quickly that it's wise to look before they leap. Lighter creatures have other ways to get from place to place. The most efficient is to glide. The aptly named flying dragon is a master. There are reasons why a lizard might wish to leave a tree in a hurry. To avoid being eaten by a paradise tree snake. But in these extraordinary forests, even the snakes can glide. Over the coming weeks, Doba forms a partnership with Puji, a rare accomplishment for a sub-adult male. They travel together, mate often, and share food. But finding water is becoming a serious problem. Even the water holes in trees have dried out. A few pig wallows still have water, but these are on the forest floor, a place a Sumatran orang rarely ventures. There could be tigers close by. With thirst a powerful motivator, Doba musters his courage. Fuji and Diane are too scared to take their turn. When at last the rains come, the apes have a new problem to solve. They keep busy building roofs. Some are beautifully woven. Each orang makes do with the materials at hand. Fuji's efforts are always a bit makeshift. Still, they're better than nothing. The storms finally let up, and the forest, now swollen with water, comes to life. Strange fungi erupt from rotten wood and saturated leaves. And the water will fuel the next season of forest growth. Fuji and Diane waste no time eating their fill. Because fruit trees tend to synchronize their production, food is everywhere. Durian is every orang's favorite fruit. It's nutritious, fatty flesh has a potent scent that attracts apes from miles around. Among humans, durian has a reputation as an aphrodisiac. But getting at it takes strength and intelligence. Its sharp spines make it very hard to open. Inda is an expert. Drop durians are also prized. By tigers. Throughout history, plants have made fruit for only one reason: to disperse the seeds inside. The alliance between plants and the animals that eat them allow both to prosper. In their travels, orangs spread seeds over great distances. Once their feces hit the ground, the beetles get to work. Small seeds are buried in their own balls of compost. Larger seeds are left on the surface. With enough light, they will germinate and maybe one day bear fruit themselves. Throughout the forest, clumps of new seedlings push their way toward the skies. Without orangs to disperse their seeds, some trees would die out altogether. The forest would change forever. For the normally solitary apes, food means company and some unexpected changes. A larger male chases Doba away from Puji. His luck has finally run out. Doba watches as the newcomer grapples with the struggling Puji. This male's attentions are clearly unwelcome. This time, mother and daughter join forces, but the male is very strong and the danger of falling very real. Doba is helpless to come to her defense. Puji resigns herself to the outcome. The male is too powerful, and she will not risk her life fighting. Without the protection of a dominant adult male, forced copulations like this are a fact of life. Solitude, the classic image of orangutan existence. During lean times, life alone may be a necessary hardship. But seasons of plenty are times for great gatherings. Orangs seem to appear from out of nowhere. After months of isolation, adjusting to the new social climate must be daunting. With more than enough fruit to go around, the atmosphere is relaxed. Warily at first, females of all ranks now share the same tree. For some orangs, it's a time of courtship. For others, a chance to renew friendships that may have languished since the last gathering. For all, this is a rare opportunity to socialize. Infants have the chance to test animals that may one day be adversaries. But as long as they hang on with one of their four limbs, these fights are as harmless as they look. Dedi, a flamboyant male, slightly younger than Doba, relishes the chance to torment 8-year-old Dion. Such a concentration of females will always attract males. Pooji spots some branches moving at the edge of the tree. It's a mature adult male, the first in the area for months. Doba has never seen this male before and keeps a low profile. He's new to Dedi too. Inda finally sees him. She is unnerved by the intrusion. Across the forest, a long call heralds the return of Aswar. Though he's been away for months, all the females recognize him instantly. Aswar owes much of his status to the support given to him by the area's females, and it's at times like these that he needs their help. The new male remains still. Aswar hasn't seen him. Inda wastes no time heading for Aswar's side. Tati falls behind in the excitement. Reunited after Aswar's 4-month absence, the pair spend a few moments getting reacquainted. But Inda doesn't allow him long. Instead, she leads him to the new intruder. Perhaps Inda just wants a good look at the newcomer, and Aswar is a suitable chaperone. But Inda is renowned for her scheming. Aswar climbs to the highest vantage point. He spots the competition. He hasn't met this male before. Aswar smashes a branch, a sign of strength and blatant intimidation. He moves to consolidate his position. The intruder decides to make his getaway. Moving at this speed is extremely dangerous. There is little time to judge the health of a branch, and the ground is at least 60 feet below. A clever strategist, Inda appears to be the mastermind behind this confrontation. Satisfied that the new male is no match for her old friend, she helps Aswar to drive the outsider from the area. Still the conquering hero, Aswar retains his status as the area's dominant male. Researchers now know that although orangutans spend a great deal of time alone, they're gregarious creatures. While separated, they somehow keep constant tabs on the neighborhood. Who are potential mates? Where the best fruit trees are? Which male will next rule the forest? Perhaps they use calls or visual contact. But some mysteries remain. If orangs are intelligent enough to maintain social networks and survive in a difficult forest, is it possible that they can use tools like chimpanzees and humans do? Until recently, there had been no records of tool use by wild orangutans, but it seems we may have underestimated them. A few miles from here is a vast peat swamp fed by the rains that fall over Lurzer. It's a fetid place, but surprisingly full of life. Pitcher plants find extra nutrients by trapping tiny animals. But the millions of creatures that thrive on rotting vegetation aren't just on the menu for plants. Orangutans favor the insects as well. The nests are tough to crack, but tools are unnecessary. Why bother when brute strength will do? But other delicacies are less accessible. Orang's favorite insects usually live in mounds on the forest floor. But here the ground is covered by water all year round. Many insects will nest in the holes of trees, and living tree tissue is too tough for even an orangutan to smash. This female casts a discerning eye over the branches and selects a stick. She prepares the tool by first chewing the end to make a scoop and then removing the bark. At first, it's a little too long. But after some trimming, it seems just right, and she can reach the honey. Perhaps she learned the technique from another orang. Perhaps her mother taught her. No one knows how long the orangutans here have used tools, but such skills are passed on quickly in intelligent societies. And once one orang developed expertise, others probably followed suit. Adult males seem the least frequent tool users. They're so strong that they can muscle their way through many tasks. But the honey in this bee's nest lies deep inside, and this seems to present a problem. For occasions like this, orangs have improvised a toolkit. They choose sticks of different thicknesses and lengths and adapt them to suit their specific needs. The ingenious double-ended spoon is a favorite. Tool use by the orangutans of Sumatra has only recently been documented by researchers. This discovery is changing the way we think about these elusive animals. The forests here may yield other surprises, given enough time. But trees are being cleared for rice paddies and timber. 100 years ago, this island was covered by rainforest. Now these mountains are the orang's last refuge. And it's here in this shrinking sanctuary that Inda and Puji are working to raise their young. Puji is now pregnant, probably by Doba. Her relationship with him may last for the next 2 decades. Daughter Diane is now spending less time at her side, and at last seems to be ready to make the leap toward independence. She'll have more to refine than her wasp hunting technique if she's to survive the rigors of these forests. Little Tati has another 5 or 6 years to learn what he can from his talented mother. Both apes and humans owe their success to resourceful ancestors. As the secret life of the orangutan continues to unfold, we may discover that we have more in common than a common family tree.